So this month I'll be celebrating 5 years without getting into a car accident. I got into an accident in August of 2016, and I actually developed a significant fear of driving after that accident. What had happened was that I used to have a really bad habit of, well, kind of drinking and driving. I was daydreaming while driving. A lot of times I'd get behind the wheel and I would get quickly overwhelmed by all sorts of thoughts. You know, things I need to do at the workplace, things I need to say to various people, things I had to do for the day. And I used to problem solve a lot in the driver's seat. I would sit down and instantly just feel a great sense of being overwhelmed. I've since gotten help for stuff like that. I'm going to record the rest of the video in the car because I'm near a car wash right now. But what would happen is I would sit down and all of a sudden it was like my mind just spun out of control. I still have problems like that to deal with, but not nearly as dramatic as 5 years ago. I was driving a Honda Accord at the time. I think I might have shot some videos in it because I also lived in that car for some time. I've also lived in this car for quite some time, actually. So when I first bought the car, I bought this car in February of 17, I was paranoid about accidents. When I was shopping for the car, I remember I would close my eyes and I would hear bang, 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 like car accidents and cars spinning out of control and all that. And after I acquired the car, I remember how paranoid I would be. Somebody would want to meet up with me, and let's say I was in Bellevue, they were in Redmond, which is only a 5-10 mile drive, right? I would literally tell these people, okay, assuming I don't have an accident, some of my colleagues were like, gee, how many times do you drive and how many accidents do you have? You talk about every trip like it's an accident waiting to happen. I really was very stressed out at the time. And one of my therapists taught me this strategy of every time before I go to start up the car, right, before I turn the key, to tell myself, I'm just gonna go this one trip without an accident. And if it's too much, to go one exit at a time. And after I arrive at my destination, to congratulate myself, I made it another trip without an accident. And I religiously did that for at least a year after acquiring the car. What was really funny was I was working at a tutoring center. We had a big parking lot. And I used to park right as I get into the parking lot because I didn't want to have to deal with pedestrians. I didn't want to have to deal with other traffic. That just adds more opportunity to make a mistake. I needed exercise anyway, so I would park at the back of the parking lot. And one day, I had pulled into the tutoring center and I went to the back of the parking lot, and I was walking into the center when I hear somebody punch their horn at me. I'd almost gotten hit by a car, and actually it was the parent of one of my students. It was really embarrassing. I was so relieved at not having the accident getting into the tutoring center, I forgot that you could get into an accident walking as well. And when I told the student and I, we got along very well, so I talked to the parents as well. I said, oh, I'm sorry, you know, I got really relieved that I made it here without a problem. And he was surprised that I thought of every drive as an accident waiting to happen. I was paranoid. This was in the spring of 2017. The accident was still fresh on my mind. Now, in the summer of 2017, I went out to Salem to go see a solar eclipse. And I was living out of my car at the time. You got to remember, before the pandemic, it used to be very comfortable to live out of your car 8 months out of the year. And so those were pretty heavy years in terms of driving. I've put in 5 years I've put about 60,000 miles in the car, actually more like 70 now. And so I'm very pleased we had last year though, because I really thought I was due for an accident. And then we had a year where we didn't have to drive as much, so that probably helped save me from having at least another minor fender bender. I got really lucky though, because when I first bought the car, there was some damage to the rear bumper. And then one day I go bowling and I come out and see a note that somebody had hit my car. So I just kind of blamed all the damage on them. Well, I didn't, but they got it all fixed. That was nice. That was kind of like a bonus. So to give you an idea of how long 5 years is, I've had 5 relationships in the car. 3 of them solo-sexual, 2 heterosexual ones. So when I first bought the car, I had just broken up with another girl, and I really discovered myself. I would go out to Ellensburg to view the night sky, and I did this many, many times during the first couple of years I had this car. Actually, I broke up with the girl before I even had this car, and I was happily single doing that. And I call that relationship, now looking back at it, I call it solo-sexual interstellar. That was my first major not my first solo-sexual relationship, but the first one where I actually spent time as if we were going out as a couple. So that I gave that relationship a little bit of a name. And then I met a girl through a friend at a chess tournament, and I was scared to death after the relationship took off, because I was worried about, I was mourning the loss of my solo-sexual relationship with myself. I was spending a lot less time as a solo-sexual, more time with her, and I just thought of it as saying goodbye to my solo-sexual life. I recorded a lot of videos during that time. I gave that concept a little bit of a nickname. I called it my single life grand finale, because at the time Cassini had just ended its mission, and we called it Cassini Grand Finale, and I was wrapping up my mission, right? And then I was forced to be solo-sexual again. I had the best time of my life. I call it solo-sexual 6 feet apart, obviously. During that time, I started intermittent fasting, and I changed a number of lifestyle habits that would be difficult if I had to interact with other people, right? It's hard to start a new diet lifestyle. It's hard to change some of your habits. I started sleeping a whole lot better during solo-sexual 6 feet apart. And finally, we reopened some of the businesses, and I went out to a new restaurant that I had discovered during this time. And I met another girl, and I don't think either of us are ready to commit yet. We're still close friends, and also she's a little bit uncertain about my choice not to get the vaccine. So that was the end of that, and now I'm in what I call solo-sexual re-emerge, right? Because I'm re-emerging into this new world, and also I got over some of my social anxiety problems. And I went to Las Vegas for the first time in my life. I swore I couldn't do that just a few years ago. I was terrified about that prospect. And people made fun of me. And I decided to, at the same time that I want to speak out for myself, that I recharge differently, at the same time I also want to visit what these other people are doing and see if there's something that I'm missing out, something I can work out. I'm kind of attacking it as a two-pronged approach these days. Anyway, you can go 5 years without a car accident, one trip at a time. It's that easy. You can go 5 years of fasting 16 hours a day at a time, right? And don't forget to congratulate yourself.